My fellow Sazaiters, this is just a quick update and a follow-up to my last video. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you do. Now, there is something interesting that Chamisa tweeted, and I want to briefly talk about it because it addresses some of the issues I raised in my last video. Now, Chamisa said the following, and I quote, "The country is in pain. We are roasting and stewing. Zimbabweans from all walks of life are suffering. We don't have the luxury of time. 2023 did not happen, therefore we have no 2028 to talk about. Until we resolve the 2023 elections dispute, we can't have another election under the same disputed circumstances, same disputed conditions, and same disputed referees. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." Clearly, Chamisa has decided to boycott upcoming elections until reforms have been implemented. He rightly said, "It would be insane to continue participating in elections under the same circumstances, same conditions, and same referees." This is exactly the reason why we advised the CCC not to participate in the Chabangu by-elections, because by participating in those by-elections, they were legitimizing the Chabangu recalls. You can't say the recalls were illegal, then you field candidates to replace the MPs you say were illegally recalled. The right position was to totally pull out of parliament and councils and to boycott those by-elections, and also to engage in mass action in protest. So the CCC showed weakness and gave ZANU-PF the legitimacy it so desperately needed at the time. The truth of the matter is that elections don't work in Zimbabwe. The sooner we come to terms with that, the better. Elections under the current conditions will always produce the same result. The whole system is designed to keep ZANU-PF in power. So that's why I said popularity alone won't help Chamisa win. In my last video, I said a statement that some in the comment section grossly misunderstood. Guys, this is why sometimes I take a grandmother's approach in my presentations. It's because I try to make things as clear to everyone as humanly possible. So, I said, in Zimbabwean politics, there are three things that matter if you want to win a state power. Those three things are charisma, money, and the gun. Now, you don't need all three of those things. You just need two out of those three in order to be president of Zimbabwe. For example, ED doesn't have charisma, but he has money and the gun. Mugabe had all the three. He had charisma, he had money, and he had the gun. Tsvangirai had charisma but didn't have enough money, and definitely also didn't have the gun. Chamisa is in the same boat as Tsvangirai. He has charisma but doesn't have money, and definitely also doesn't have the gun. By money, I mean a limitless supply of cash to finance your political activities before, during, and after the election. The before there is referring to the campaign period, campaigning, galvanizing support. The during there is referring to your election agents, monitoring the election, the observation of it. And the after is referring to, defending the vote. All of that needs a lot of money, which the opposition doesn't have. ZANU-PF has the gun, but it still uses millions of American dollars in vote buying. Each and every election, they give handouts to people just to make them vote accordingly. That's the power of money. That tells you that even the gun on its own is not enough. That's why ZANU-PF resorts to demagogy. If ZANU-PF uses the gun alone, then it will become obvious to every Tom, Dick and Harry that there is no democracy in Zimbabwe. So what do? They create an illusion that there is democracy in Zimbabwe by the number of people that turn up to your ZANU-PF rallies. When in fact, some of those people are actually coerced to attend those rallies, but many of them actually attend hoping to get handouts, freebies, goodies. That's demagogy. Demagogy means you don't use rational thinking to win support. You use money to win support. You seek support by appealing to the temporary desires of ordinary people. You buy them chicken in and chicken slice and then ask them to vote for you. Some of them have actually never had chicken in their entire lives. So they now feel indebted to you and seek to repay that debt by voting for you. That's what ZANU-PF does. It's called demagogy and requires a lot of money, which the opposition doesn't have. So there you have it. I have just proven to you that ED doesn't have charisma but does have money and the gun. Chamisa, on the other hand, doesn't have money and definitely doesn't have the gun. He only has charisma. So is it possible for Chamisa to be state president without the gun? Yes sir, yes ma'am, it is. But it won't be easy and will require a lot of money. We have already established that ZANU-PF doesn't only use the gun, it also uses money to make people vote for it. The opposition, on the other hand, doesn't use money to win votes. It uses promises for the most part. A promise of a great Zimbabwe free for all. So when people vote for the opposition, they are in effect generally just voting for an idea, which in reality is what should happen. But however, this is Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen. You have to beat the devil at his own game. The opposition needs to go beyond promises. See, start doing projects in neighborhoods and townships. Create a service delivery system within your party that responds to the daily issues in communities. ZANU-PF takes advantage of our poor people because they are hungry. A hungry man is a desperate man, and a desperate man can't make a rational decision. It is unfair, grossly unfair for us to expect poor villagers to say no to free handouts from ZANU-PF during the election season. So, we have identified that our people are hungry and ZANU-PF uses that hunger as a tool to gain votes. So, there is a gap there and the opposition needs to bridge that gap. Instead of making promises of, oh, we'll do this once you elect us, maybe the opposition actually needs to start doing something tangible before they are elected. But all of that requires a lot of money, which the opposition doesn't have. But even if you do all of that and do it well, there is still another factor which remains a thorn in the flesh, and that is the gun, the military establishment. Because it's not as if they will just let you do all that without doing something about it. Remember, they have already declared that no one will remove ZANU-PF from power. So that leaves two options on the table, two democratic measures that can be taken by the opposition in dealing with the military establishment. Because make no mistake, they won't let you win any election. They have never hidden that fact. So what are these options that the opposition has? Well, it's a dialogue and mass action. So it's either we sit down with the military establishment and hear them out, find out what are their grievances and what can be done to return them to the barracks and let civilians do politics. What assurances can be given to the military establishment? If dialogue doesn't work, then the only democratic tool left is mass action, properly organized national demonstrations. The good thing for the opposition is that it has the support of the working class, so it won't be that hard to send a very strong message to the regime. It won't be that hard to bring business to a total standstill nationally. ZANU-PF only negotiates when it's in trouble or under pressure. You are never going to get any reform if you don't pressure ZANU-PF. And equally, they are never going to comply with any reform if you don't pressure them too. That makes mass action very necessary. Right now, ZANU-PF feels at peace because the opposition isn't giving it to ZANU-PF. It's ZANU-PF that is giving it to the opposition. They just keep receiving and not retaliating. The game of politics is not for the weak. Ice kids game are common. But well, whatever happens, I'll be here to marinate you with all the details without fear or favor. Because on this platform, we say it as it is. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoy the content, please like and share.